And by the way, this is just the beginning. Yes, sir. This is just the beginning.
Into the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions! Aiden Hutchinson got him!
What's going on, everybody? We're at the tail end of the offseason, just a short few days away from kickoff on Thursday night against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I just wanted to come at you with how I think the season will play out, who will win against, who will our losses be, and then how we'll stand in the division. There might be a surprise at the end. We'll see who comes on top of that NFC North and who gets that crown. Are the Lions going to host their first ever playoff game at Ford Field? Watch till the end and let's find out. To make this a little bit more digestible and easy to read, I split the season up into quarters. It's not an even quarter since we've added that 18th week in. However, I wanted to break this out so that way we can go over it in a little bit more easier fashion. So our first four games, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, the Seahawks, the Falcons, and the Packers. We're going to Arrowhead on that Thursday night opening game of the NFL season. I do think that the Lions come up short. I've really wrestled if they're going to beat the Chiefs or not. In fact, I think I'm going to be dropping a video next week on how the Lions can actually beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead next week. A couple of factors that go into it. Is Chris Jones going to show up to the Chiefs because he's an X factor on the defensive line for the Chiefs? And also, are the Lions going to come in crisp, clean, ready to operate, or not playing any of the starters in the preseason going to hold them back? All these sorts of questions, all these things need to be answered, and we're just a short few days away of finding that. So I do have the Lions dropping to the Chiefs in that first game of the year, followed by coming into Ford Field, we have the Seahawks. Revenge is a dish better served cold. I have the Lions beating the Seahawks this time around. They were our nemesis last year, beat us 48 to 45. Took that last playoff spot that we were vying for. So now we get our revenge. They come into Ford Field, come into the Lions Den and get their asses romped. After that, the Lions will host the Atlanta Falcons. I have the Falcons as a sleeper team this year. I think there's too much talent on the offensive side of ball. It's going to be a great game, I think, but I think the Falcons will come up over top of the Lions. And then we have the Packers in Green Bay Thursday night. We bring the heat, melt some cheese on Lambeau, and then we start the season 2-2, which given that first four games, I think that's going to be a pretty good slate. If we come out of those first four games, 3-1, 2-2, I'd be super ecstatic. If we start 1-3 or 0-4, just like last year, we're going to have some serious questions to answer pretty early on in the season. In the second quarter, we have the Panthers, the Bucks, the Ravens, and the Raiders. I have us going into, Carolina coming to us rather, and beating them. I think we saw with that last preseason game, Bryce Young going against our second team. He looked good. He didn't look great though. So I have full confidence that our defense will be able to bring it to him as he still settles into the NFL, coming from college. So, and I do think they have enough talent to keep up with us this year. Yeah, they kicked our ass last year on the ground game, one-off fluke game. But I think this year, we go into Charlotte and we kick their butts. And I think we come out of there with the dub. Then after that, we go down to Tampa Bay, play the Buccaneers. Again, not a very talented team. Baker Mayfield is quarterback there. So I think that we go into Tampa, get a W, and then followed by the Baltimore Ravens. Going into Baltimore, they're a super talented team on both sides of the ball. Road games are tough. NFL games are tough. There's no denying that. So I think that's another one that we're going to drop, is going to be against the Ravens. Would I love revenge for the Justin Tucker field goal at the last minute, time expiring? Absolutely, but I don't think that's going to be this year. I still think they have too much talent on the offensive side of the ball, and that defense is just year in and year out formidable. So I think Jared Goff, may have a down game this one against the Ravens, but we ended up dropping that one. And then we have our Monday Night Football game against the Raiders. I'm super pumped about this. I think our fans always show out at Ford Field when we have those Monday night games. This one, man, if I could go to this one, I live in Colorado, I wish I could go because that crowd is going to be electric. So this one, we take it to the Raiders. We kick their butts. Jimmy G doesn't know what's coming to him. I think we go out there and make a statement on national TV. And then, by this point in time, we have 3 more wins and 1 loss. So we're sitting at 5-3 going into our bye week. And that's a pretty good position to be in. I'll be super happy if we have a winning record going into the bye. And a thing to note too is that this bye week is perfectly placed in the middle of the season. So thank you, the schedule makers, for giving us a right in the middle bye. Gives us time after we're done with that first half of games get healthy, make some moves if we need to, replace, replenish. It gives us some good rest. So that way, when it comes to the second half of the season, we can make a strong push towards the playoffs and winning the division. After this, we go against the Chargers, Bears, Packers, and Saints. I do have us dropping 2 out of these 4. First, up against the Chargers in LA. Again, I think that team is super talented, so I think that's going to be a tough game for us. Would I be surprised if we win this? No, not at all. However, I think it's going to be one of those games that, traveling on the road, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough. Justin Herbert is a great quarterback, and they have bounds of talent. Can Staley coach this team to its potential? I don't know. We're going to find that out. However, this team does have tons of potential. They're going to be good this year. They're going to push for that, AFC West, even a playoff spot. So, going to be one that we drop. And then we go into the Bears, and then we're favored by 4.5 points there. So, I fully believe that, we go into that game with a W as they try to figure out their team, build up that roster. I still think that we're more talented than what the Bears are. So, that should be a win for us, especially at Ford Field. And then after that, we have our Thanksgiving game, tried and true. This year against the Packers, I think we go in there, we make a statement again. We sweep the Packers yet again. We have their number. We dominate them. And hopefully by that point in time, Jordan Love's still not comfortable. We'll see what he turns out to be. But I still think that we come out ahead against the Packers and then, show up in the NFC North as well. And then we go down to New Orleans against the Saints. Saints are kind of a sneaky team this year. Their defense is strong. They got Derek Carr being a quarterback, so they got an upgrade, if you could say that, at quarterback. And then they got our boy Jamal down there as well at running back. So a super talented team. I think they're going to be a little bit better than what people are expecting out of them. Dan Campbell does not get his revenge from his former employer, but, ends up being a good game. And then we dropped 2 out of these 4. Win 2 against divisional opponents, so that's always big. But those out-of-division games, prove to be pretty tough. And at this point in time, we're 7-5. I think we're competing for the NFC North at this point. We're kind of in that 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th wildcard spot as well. So we're in the hunt for the playoffs, which at this point in time is where we want to be. You want to be in the hunt, given, we're into December at this point in time. You want to be playing meaningful games in December and January. So being at 7-5, we're at that point. The third quarter of games is going to be one of our toughest slates of games that we have. We play the Bears, the Broncos, the Vikings, and the Cowboys. 3 of those games are going to be on the road. I really wrestled with if we're going to be able to go in the Soldier Field in December and come out with a win. That's going to be a super tough place to play, especially in December. You're in Chicago. Jared Goff is outdoors. The winds are going to be swirling. Will the Lions have the ground game to be able to dominate the Chicago Bears defense? And are we going to be able to contain Justin Fields on his home turf? I really struggled with that one. I had it as a loss initially, but I think we, again, just have a little bit too much talent and we overcome the Bears. I think it's going to be super tough, though. I don't think this one's going to be a game that we're going to want to be taking lightly. We're currently favored by 1 point, so that kind of tells the odds makers, too, hey, this one's going to be super close. We'll see what happens. And hopefully by this point in time, we're healthy. We're running with a close to as full roster as possible. But this is when those injuries start, creeping up. How deep is your team with the depth? And this is going to be a very tough one for us. The week after that, we have the Broncos coming into town. I think we win that one. Russell Wilson, we'll see how he reacts that first year in the Sean Payton system. I think there's going to be some growing pains. I think they're going to end up 7-10, 6-11. We'll see where the Broncos end up this year, but I think that division's too tough. I don't think Russell Wilson is the player that he once was. So we beat the Broncos, and then we go into Minnesota, where that's going to be a tough one. We played Minnesota twice in the last 3 weeks of our season, and these are the 2 teams that I think and I feel are going to be vying for the NFC North. So these games are going to be incredibly impactful. But going into Minnesota at the end of the year, man, that's going to be a tough game for us. As you can see, Minnesota is actually favored in that one by a point. So the odds makers have it pretty close. However, we'll see what happens. It's going to be a very tough game. Hopefully both teams are super healthy at that point in time so we can get the best of both worlds. But I think that one's going to come down to, some fourth quarter theatrics to come out with a W in Minneapolis. After that, we go down to Dallas, face the Cowboys. Man, I think the Cowboys are going to be the Eagles of last year. That team is super talented on both sides of the ball. Can Dak control the interceptions? Is he going to throw another 20, 30 interceptions this year? Or is he going to get that under control now that Kellen Moore is out of town as the OC? And Mike McCarthy's taken over play calling duties. So that's a good one to watch. I don't think we beat the Cowboys because at this point in time, we're going to be vying for playoff positioning. And I don't have enough confidence going on the road in a hostile environment with the playoffs on the line. Are we going to be able to pull that win off? We'll get there soon, but I don't think this is the year that we go into Dallas and get that dub. All right, we get down to week 18. We're going for the division. The Minnesota Vikings come into town, and then we kick their ass. We take the North for the first time in what feels like forever, at least in my lifetime. It's going to be a huge game. I fully expect it to get flexed to Sunday night. The Lions end the season as the last regular season game, 2 years in a row, but we take it to the Minnesota Vikings. They come into town, Kirk Cousins and Julie come into town, and then we take the NFC North crown from them. So NFC North standings to end the year, I do have the Lions winning the division, ending the year at 10-7. The Vikings just right behind us at 9-8. The Green Bay Packers at 7-10, and then the Chicago Bears at 6-11. I think this NFC North this year is going to be super clumped together. I think we're underrating the Packers and the Bears, and then the Lions and the Vikings might be a little overrated. Being a Lions homer, obviously I'd be super happy with 10-7 in the division. But I feel like that win-loss total could be anywhere from 9 to 13. It's such a wide range, and given how the schedule played out, I think it's really favorable for us, but we're going to find out if we can compete, if we can win. Are we going to be able to close out those games? That's something that this team has struggled with for the past couple of years, and we figured out in the second half of the season last year. Can we replicate that success this year? That's going to be the biggest question. So I have us finishing 10-7. We're going as the 4th seed. We have that home playoff game. And I think if we have that home playoff game, we win. And so we'll go to the divisional round, which we'll probably end up falling short on because the teams just are so much more condensed, so much more talented. But if you ask me today, if the Lions went to the divisional round, would you be happy? Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. We win a playoff game. We win the division. We hang the banners in Ford Field. I'd be super thrilled with that. Can this team go to the NFC championship game? By all means. They have the talent. They have the skill. Are they going to be able to put it together? That's why we watch the games. I can fully expect this team to go to the NFC championship game, win it, go to the Super Bowl. Who knows? I'll drink that Kool-Aid all day. But, I have them just being a little bit more realistic. I have them just falling a little bit short on that. Winning a playoff game will be huge for us. I'll be super happy. I think you should be too. Make sure you let me know in the comments below what you think our record will be this year. I'm really curious. I put up a poll the other day about what the win-loss total would be. So shoot a comment down below. Let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps out the channel tremendously. I appreciate you guys. Let's go Lions.